right. So maybe even staying in your lane of luxury, but you could go more broadly with this too. I'm curious. We always talk about people, process, and technology. On our podcast. For the retailers that are listening, they're saying, hey, you know what? I want to take advantage of this. I want to get into the beta early and start to see what it means for me as I go into the holidays. To your point, what do they need to get right along those three dimensions to be as successful as they can be with this new platform?
Yeah, Chris, I love this question because you can have the best strategy in the world,
Right.
but if those three things aren't in place,
Yep.
it means nothing, and it's going to fall flat. I think in the context of Omni,
Okay.
it's interesting. It's the most uncontroversial thing to say as a brand or retailer that Omni is what we're trying to drive
Yes.
and deliver.
Yep.
But when you click into it, there are people, processes that have been defined over decades at a lot of these traditional companies that have been built up around channels. And so there are these silos that exist between what's happening from an e-com perspective, what's happening from a store perspective, that have different KPIs, different measurement frameworks and methodologies, and different budgets.
That's what I was thinking.
And
you got to
so
unlock the budgets differently, 100%.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is a really, really hard thing to solve for,
Yeah.
by the way. This is like a
it's not easy.
multi-year thing. But what ends up happening if you don't have those kind of operating in a more fluid and cohesive way is ultimately you're never going to have the sum greater than the parts, where you're going to have store sales driven by the store team. You're going to have digital teams focused on, digital sales, and truly that omni opportunity won't be realized because there won't be the synergy that you need. So the advertisers are doing the best job of this. Our partners that are doing the best job are really thinking about how do we design an org that creates more fluidity across these goals. So how do we rethink our measurement framework and KPIs so that is truly an omni goal across what's happening on both sides? How do we unify that? How do we unify what's happening from a budgeting standpoint so that we can allow the marketing team to really have more fluidity and agility in the way that they're deploying and activating their strategies to drive the greatest omni outcomes?
That makes sense. And I would imagine, too, that there's a little bit of learning by doing here going on as well versus just to your point about staying stagnant, staying in the old mindset. You've actually got to dig into here and try it to understand what that org structure could eventually look like, too. Is that right?
Yeah, and this is why I think it's a multi-year process because it's a huge change
Makes sense.
management exercise,
Makes sense.
just as much as it is a new marketing strategy. And so all of this needs to be done with, test and learn methodologies that are, meant to, one, show the results over time, but also, give confidence in the organization that we're heading in the right direction.
And buy-in from your retailer partners who you've been working with to develop this, I imagine, too, over the course of the last several
That's exactly
years.
right.